Hello, everyone. We're gonna start the Open edX meetup from May. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We have three very interesting presentations. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Esteban Echeverri. I'm co-founder of Olas Neo, an Open edX service provider. I'm also a member of the marketing working group for the Open edX community. Today we'll have three presentations. We will have Elizabeth Gordon and Brian Nethero, um, project manager, from ASU. Then we will have Dr. Sunil Ganesh from ASU, and we will have also a product update from Ed Sarekor, VP of Engineering from Maxim, and with the collaboration of Lee Lubowski from Raccoon Gang, right? So please remember that each presentation is gonna take between 10 and 15 minutes, where the presenter will develop the contents, and then we will have a Q&A session at the end of each presentation. Feel free to start writing your doubts or your questions on the room chat, and when the presentation ends, we'll read those questions aloud. So now let's begin with the first presentation. This is going to be provided by Elizabeth Gordon, Assistant Director and International Instructional Designer from ASU, and Brian Nethero, Project Manager at ASU, sorry. And they will present three innovative projects. Elizabeth, Brian, welcome to the Open edX meetup, and please go ahead with your presentation.
Good day, everybody. Thanks for joining the meetup today. So great to be here and virtually see all of you. We're going to share a couple of things that we've got here at ASU. They're kind of innovative partnerships that really use the Open edX platform as the base of them. We've got Starbucks Global Academy, the Algorithm Young Thinkers program, and the MasterCard Foundation Verifiable platform. For each of the projects, we'll give you a little bit of a background, how we implement Open edX, and a little bit of information about the impact and reach. To get us started, I'll let Brian get started on the Starbucks Global Academy.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you today. And I'm going to give you a lot of information quickly. So if you do have additional questions or are curious to learn more, we can certainly do that after this introduction. But just wanted to give a heads up that we will go through these a little bit quicker than we normally would in a full, deep presentation. But I will be speaking a bit to you about Starbucks Global Academy. Starbucks Global Academy is an online learning platform that we manage in partnership with Starbucks Coffee Company. It's been around for about 6 years now. We are obviously using Open edX as the platform for our learning management system, and then we have a custom front end as well that I'll share a bit more about. In total, we have 125 different courses. We organize those courses around 4 different schools that you can see here on your screen. And we also have a few courses that we call our collections, and those are courses that receive a little bit of extra marketing and a little bit of extra prioritization, and those are included in our platform as well. All of this is managed in partnership with Starbucks Coffee Company and is available everywhere around the world. As you can see on the screen, we are in many countries around the world, 5 global regions and 85 individual locations total. We offer courses in 7 different languages. Not every course is in every language, but we have 7 different languages available across our platform in total. And one of the things that we do that's unique for our global reach is we use microsites with our Open edX platform, and this allows us to give custom course catalogs to each region. It also allows us to localize and translate the content to meet the needs of each individual region. So while everything is a part of one common platform, these microsites allow us to customize each individual region to meet the needs of that geographic area. Our infrastructure at a really high level is three main components. In the middle, you see the learning management system. This is obviously the core platform where all of the courses and accounts are housed and where we award certificates and badges and track learner progress. Before you get to that learning management system, we also have a custom landing page. This serves as really a marketing function and is also the what we might call the front door that welcomes you into the learning management system, so you can learn about the programs, understand what's available to you, and register for your account, which then provisions you into the learning management system. The last thing we have is a mobile application. This doesn't offer any new or different features, but it does make the entire experience optimized for mobile devices. And we have that on iOS and Android applications. This shows an example of what that custom experience looks like for certain collections. So Greener Apron is a sustainability course that is one of our collections within Starbucks Global Academy. And you can see in this example, there's a separate web page, a separate URL that allows very unique information for this collection to be shared. And it also allows Starbucks to promote and market this collection separate from everything else on the platform. So with 125 courses and 85 countries, learners come to our platform for different reasons, and providing these custom landing pages for each of our collections allows us to market them individually and reach learners that are interested in those particular topics. Here's a brief diagram of our architecture. On the top left, I'll start, and you see a learner comes to our front end. This is our landing page where they learn more and register for the platform. We build that through Drupal and then host all of that on Amazon Web Services. We also use SendGrid to share communications. When learners register and sign up, they get a welcome email. If they need to reset their password or earn a badge, we also distribute communications at those moments. Once learners authenticate into the platform, they're on our OpenEdX instance. We work with Raccoon Gang to host and maintain this instance. And we also work with Badger for our digital credentials, which are connected to our platform and automatically awarded based on platform activity. We use Tableau for all of our data visualization, which again is connected into the platform and making all of our data available. And then we use a LTI tool called H5P to offer some additional instructional design authoring tools. And I'll briefly go over our impact. We've been really lucky to see a lot of growth over the years. And in total, we've reached about 190,000 learners, almost, not quite 700,000 enrollments, and over 300,000 completions. One thing we're really proud of as we've scaled is our completion rate has stayed quite high and even grown over the years, which we feel very proud of, as that usually gets lower as you scale. And then off to the side, you can see some quick data for Greener Apron, To Be Welcoming, and Coffee Academy. These three collections make up the overwhelming majority of activity on our platform. I know that was quick. I will pass to Elizabeth, and thanks for your time and attention on Starbucks Global Academy.
Thanks, Brian. So the first of the programs I want to present is the Young Thinkers program. YTP is an online education and career readiness platform designed specifically originally for Emirati youth, but within about a year of launching the platform, we decided to expand to the entire Arab region. It is funded by a grant from the Al Ghurair Foundation for Education, and we work also in partnership with the Minister of Human Resources and Emiratization in the UAE. We have grown exponentially since the pandemic. I think this is probably true with so many online platforms. We are just about to hit 75,000 users. That number is actually a little outdated, but we do have representation from all 20 MENA region countries. There are 2 countries we're not allowed to operate in due to embargoes of one country or the other. We have course enrollments over 160,000. And I'll get a little more into some of those details. Our program is a little unique. We don't have just the courses in the LMS. In general, we are a gamified platform. We target to young people between the ages of 13 to 35. So we really focus on trying to make things as fun as possible. So we have kind of a levels system where we encourage them to complete various aspects of the program. We do have a mobile app as well for both iOS and Android. Oops, I thought I had a slide on that one, so I'll go back. One of the things that we have is a career assessment game. It's a picture-based game that uses a thing called reassess values, which rates different careers with different interest levels. And so it will match you with a career that your interests, that's based on your interests. We have that. It's actually on the ASU website for anyone in the general public to take if you're very interested. So the word me, M-E, and then the number 3. We have regionalized it for the Arab region. So there are folks in both traditional Arab dress and modern dress who fit the region. We have careers only that would be found in the region, and have that basically set up so that young people kind of can identify with the pictures involved in that game. Helps young people kind of decide what kind of career they're interested in and where they can, which career they should pursue. Kind of the second major component of the platform, of course, is the courses. We do have 38 different courses offered in both English and in Arabic. Accessing the platform is completely free for our users. The marketing folks have advised no cost for our users. We offer soft skills courses. So there's things like time management, finding a job, how to do your CV, interviewing, things of that nature. All of the course content is available in both English or Arabic, so the users can choose which they'd like to do it. The entire platform is offered in both English and in Arabic. We also offer certificates. We have not hooked up to Badger like Starbucks has, but it's on kind of the roadmap of what might happen at some point. And then the third component of the platform is an advising interface that uses the open source software Rocket Chat. And so with this, our Emirati users can reach directly to a success advisor and ask them with questions. Say, I can't decide between biology and biochemistry. How can I decide? Where can I figure out which university I want to attend? We also have channels of information that basically are curated, things about specific careers, upcoming events. Again, that interface is also offered in English and in Arabic, and each of the channels are curated of that. And then there's a channel where they can post questions in general. So those are the basic components of the platform. I'm not going to show you system architecture for the Young Thinkers program, simply because it and the next program I'm going to present have nearly identical system architecture. So I'll do both of them at the same time. So the next program that we have in our unit is the Baobab platform. It's a social learning platform developed in 2016 in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program. MasterCard has scholarships that they offer, and they bring scholars to various universities throughout the world. And in 2016, they decided they wanted to have a way for those scholars to all connect with each other from around the world and across the continent of Africa. Currently serves over 27,000 young Africans in 98 different countries. It offers mentorship, soft skills, and hard skill development, networking. They anticipate that the platform is going to increase its reach to serve 100,000 young African leaders. The features on the Baobab platform are a little more expansive than on YTP. So there is a community involvement connectivity feature where the platform itself can feature content, but the users themselves can also share learning opportunities and information. They can post things that they've achieved, innovative projects they're starting, so get that kind of inspiration and networking. The platform offers mentorship, so you could meet with experts both in a one-to-one and a one-to-many model, providing exposure to different people, different experiences. They have very strong entrepreneurship kind of focus on the platform, so oftentimes they will highlight various entrepreneurs who've been very successful to kind of bring that expertise and share kind of advice and suggestions on how to basically be successful. Another feature they offer is kind of an interactive learning where there's a whole lot of resources that are shared, different tools that you may be able to use, like Evernote, Grammarly, things, just various tools that might be helpful in learning that we basically provide a library of those resources for the users. In addition, the platform posts opportunities such as internships, job opportunities, scholarships, conferences, things of that nature are shared on the platform. And then, of course, they have courses, similar set of courses to what we offer in the other programs. So soft skills for college and career readiness. They offer leadership courses. There are resource hubs. They pretty much a wide variety of courses in that kind of soft skill and professional skill development. Networking is a major component of the Baobab platform. It is a major component of what the purpose was, and so really providing a lot of those opportunities for interactions and connections and finding other folks who are interested in the same kind of things that you're interested in is a good portion of what the platform is attempting to achieve. In terms of mentorships, they've offered 142 different AMAs. AMAs and Ask Me Anything, where a expert would come and host a webinar and people can come and ask questions and kind of provide that kind of mentorship. Those opportunities are recorded, and that page has gotten over 104,000 page views over time. There also is a matching program where over 2,400 individual youth have been matched with a personal mentor in a one-to-one mentorship program. There are 61 courses that are offered that are also available in French. The French component is a relatively recent, so there's about 120 courses in total. The course platform on the Baobab, while the program and the platform has existed since 2016, the courses are something that has been more recent, so they're only about 3.5 years old. So they only have about 8,000, I think they're almost up to 9,000 course enrollments at this point. And about 250 different opportunities are posted every single month for, like I said, those job internship scholarships, things of that nature. So really huge kind of reach in terms of providing opportunities. From a systems architecture standpoint, the front end, we all have custom front ends similar to what Starbucks Global Academy has, where there's a kind of a marketing web page. The registration and intake is done on that. Both of them run off of AWS. YTP does Drupal. Baobab actually runs off of a Ruby Ridge front end, but they both have a MySQL database for handling all of the information and collating kind of the user management. They both also have a Salesforce instance for doing kind of CRM and reporting. Both platforms have the Make3 career assessment that is run off of Drupal. Then, of course, we both have multiple microsites that are available. So for YTP, it's English and Arabic, and you can tell the system architecture is the YTP one primarily. But Baobab has the English and French microsites. Both use Rocket Chat for kind of interactions. We have the female microsite and a male microsite kind of in deference to the cultural preferences of the Arab region. Baobab just has a single microsite, but both microsites are reactive, and so will present in either English or that secondary language, depending on the user's browser setting. Again, we ran through these fairly quickly, wanted to kind of give you a high-level overview of all 3 programs. Our email addresses are there. I actually technically am not on the Baobab platform, so I've given you a contact number for one of our team members there if you have questions. But we will be hanging around and be willing to answer any of your questions afterwards. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Elizabeth and Brian, for your presentations and the very accurate time limit that was perfect. So
We
congratulations on
managed.
that. Yes. So let me pick some of the questions, lots of questions. Let me go. So we have one question. Well, I read it to both of you, and then you decide who can answer. Does ASU translate the whole interface in the 7 languages you support, or only the content? I believe this one is for the first presentation for Brian.
That's a great question. We translate everything depending on the needs of Starbucks. So in some cases, that is translating the interface. As of right now, we have the interface in 3 different languages. Later this month, we'll be adding 2 more. So that'll be 5 for the interface. And then courses are also translated into a variety of different languages, depending on the requests of the global markets within Starbucks. So not everything is in all 7 languages. I want to be clear on that. It depends on the particular needs and requests of Starbucks and the global regions we serve.
Okay, great. Another one for you, Brian. Can everyone register into the Starbucks Global Academy?
Yes. I didn't say that. Yes, it's entirely open. It is very much built and managed in partnership with Starbucks Coffee Company, but is completely available to no cost to anyone in the world.
Great. So this one is, well, for both of you. How many staff members does ASU have working on these programs, and in what roles? I'm especially interested in the amount of technical staff required to support these platforms.
Great question. And if OpenCraft is in the room, I apologize. I did not mention you in our technical architecture, but OpenCraft runs the instances for both YTP and Baobab. And so I don't know that we can give an FTE specifically on that, but in terms of staff directly at ASU, we have technical staff. I think both projects use about 2 developers who run the front ends. And we have on the YTP, there's about 5 FTE, I think maybe 4 FTE that are running the rest of the components of the platform. Baobab, because it has so many different kind of interfaces and interactions, runs closer to, I believe, 15 for all of the projects. Some of them are students that aren't full-time. So for that, and just I'm going to jump really ahead real quick. We are running, all of us are on Nutmeg at the moment. Actually, I think YTP might still be on Maple. And yes, the micro front end upgrade is a challenge that we're going to have to tackle. We have not done that part. I don't think we had installed all of the micro front ends that exist. So that's part of what was helpful for us, because we didn't use those particular functionalities. So that's been helpful, but there are some challenges that we're going to have to handle. And then I'll let Brian answer on staffing and the upgrades on Starbucks.
Sure. Our staffing, we have 4 full-time employees on our direct team and 2 student workers who support us in a part-time capacity. And similar to what Elizabeth said, there are quite a few other folks across the university that support us. We have occasional as-needed support from marketing folks, design folks. We have a developer that is pretty full-time on Starbucks Global Academy as a support person. And then we also get tremendous support from Raccoon Gang who manages and maintains our instance. So on our immediate team, it's 4 full-time and 2 student workers, but the total team is many other folks who are supporting Starbucks Global Academy, but not full-time. Our instance, we have an update as a big priority because we are on Hawthorne currently and need to upgrade many versions to get caught up. So that's a priority for us in the next year, and are excited to get that done.
Okay, great, thank you. So I have one other question here. Give me a second. So which tool is used for mentorship and opportunities? I believe this one's for Elizabeth.
It is. So the opportunities are posted in a news feed, basically on the Ruby Ridge front end. And the mentorship is conducted for the most part over Zoom. They do Zoom meetings to handle those mentorship opportunities, both the one-to-many and the one-to-one. And I believe some of the connections are done via the Rocket Chat tool interface as well. So you'll get direct message chat as well with the mentor.
Okay, great. Let's see if I missed any question. Well, we have another question relating to translations for Brian. So for Starbucks Academy, how do you manage building new translation of courses and then maintaining courses in multiple languages?
Great question. I don't have a secret for that. It is just a lot of work. It's especially challenging because we have 5 different microsites, and each microsite has a custom catalog of courses. So we have many different versions of many different courses in many different languages all across our microsites. So we do our best to have consistent naming conventions and organizing structures and filters and all of these different tools to make it as easy as possible, especially for the end learners to find what they're looking for. But we need that on our side too, just to keep track of what is all in the platform and what is being shown where. So I don't have a super easy, quick solution for that other than just a lot of careful tracking and organization of all the different language translations that we've done. I would say it's especially tricky with the courses. Once we add a language translation for our website or for the platform, there's not much maintenance with that. It's just an option for learners to choose in the language drop-down menu. The courses is where it is much more tricky because we're balancing many more translations across all of our microsites.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brian, and thank you. And let me tell everyone that I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there is a translation working group where we deal in the community with these kind of initiatives. So feel free to get involved in these meetings. We review these kind of situations and explore which other opportunities can be developed on that sense. Well, I think the time's up for this presentation. So thank you very much, Elizabeth and Brian, for your time, your presentation, and answering the questions. So that everyone knows, please remember that after the presentations finish, there is an structured area in the other room, and you will be able to meet Brian and Elizabeth in Carpet E, just in case you have additional questions or just to connect. So thank you very much. Now let's move forward with our second presentation of the day. Dr. Sandeep Ganesh from ASU, Professor of Strategy and General Management, and at SIM University. Sorry. So he's going to talk about OpenEdX peer learning in experiments. Ganesh, please go ahead and start with your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Esteban, for giving me this opportunity. I hope you're able to see the screen.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to present my experiment on peer learning with MBA students. Let me provide you the agenda for the session. With an introduction, I will explain about the barriers of peer learning pedagogy in higher education, the objective of peer learning experiment. Then I will talk about the structure of peer learning experiment, then the context and the experiment phases. And finally, I will analyze the decision-making patterns and the results, and also talk about the findings and implications. And last, I'll also touch upon the areas of improvement in the open response assessment component in Open edX. So this is the agenda. Let me start with an introduction by Russell Lakoff. He talks about the objective of education is learning, not teaching. Teaching is the major obstruction of learning. Schools should be upside down. The students ought to be teaching and faculty learning. So with this introduction, let me introduce you to the objective of this peer learning experiment. Number one, designing a peer learning experiment with open response assessment in the Open edX platform, where the faculty can control the individual submission of each student and subsequently anonymous peer feedback the students give to each other. That reduces the free rider behavior, which is a major problem in higher educational institutions, especially in a team assignment. So number three, synthesizing the learning from anonymous peer feedback and face-to-face team discussions. That is the third stage. Finally, analyzing the metadata to promote collective learning culture. So these are the four major objectives of this peer learning experiment. Now let me illustrate the structure of the peer learning experiment. Phase one, where I conducted a poll and students are expected to provide their justification for a case analysis. That is phase one. In phase two, they are supposed to evaluate 5 other students' case analysis submissions and provide them feedback. Whether they agree with their view or not, they are supposed to give justification for the same. This is anonymous. That is phase two. Phase three, I wanted to integrate this anonymous feedback with a face-to-face discussion with the different team members through discussion, debate, and voting, where individual members either change their view based on the anonymous feedback they received or they stick to their own view. That is phase three. And in phase four, I presented the decision-making pattern inside the classroom to make sense out of what kind of decision they have made and why. That is getting into the subject matter. These are the 4 distinct phases of the peer learning experiment. Now the case is about, it's a fictional case where the context of the case is like this: data privacy and stealing confidential data by an employee just before exiting the organization. The context is trade secrets and non-disclosure agreements, and soliciting clients for future employer. And another context is whistleblowing and corporate governance, and restraint of trade and public policy. These are the 5 major contexts of this particular case study. Here, I would not like to get much into the details of the case study and the justifications, but I would like to look at the overall decision-making pattern. Now, for this particular case study, the poll was conducted in phase 1, where the students were asked, do you think this individual employee has harmed the interest of this organization by abdicating a professional responsibility? They were supposed to say either yes or no, and subsequently provide their response through this open response assessment in the Open edX platform, right, which Xavier Institute of Management University is running with the help of ABC Online, with the able support provided by Mr. Dean Matthew, right? So this open response assessment, where the individual students are supposed to provide their justification for this question that they have answered here, yes or no. So once they provide their individual justification, then the peer assessment starts. Within a time period, they are supposed to give feedback to their classmates. That is, they will evaluate 5 other students' justification and give feedback. and they will also receive feedback from 5 other peers, and they will be able to see the feedback from other peers only after they submit the feedback for 5 of their classmates. And all this entire process is actually anonymous. This is very, very critical phase. Then let me take you through the feedback session, how it looks like. Those who are familiar with the open response assessment, you will know this is how it looks like for an individual student. For example, the student has completed the peer assessment for 5 people, and one of the assessment is shown here, where the student has said either agree or strongly agree or disagree, strongly disagree on a 5-point scale, and also provided a qualitative feedback and also the score for another student. So this is how the anonymous peer feedback is actually collected through the open response assessment component in the Open edX platform. Then what I did subsequently, I also wanted to have a face-to-face experiment. There were about 353 or 4 students were there, and they were actually they were from 6 different sections. So there were cross-sectional teams. From each section, I had taken 2 students and then formed them into a team. It's a random team which was formed. There were totally 60 teams, and I divided them into 2 different leagues, section ABC into one league and then DEF into another league, to manage the complexity of the logistics involved in executing a face-to-face discussion, debate, and voting by the students on the same problem. So here, the teams were advised to again discuss and debate based on their individual response they submitted in the Open edX platform, and subsequently the feedback that they have received from their peers, and also the feedback that they have given to their peers. Actually, they have got 10 different inputs by this time, other than their own. So now they have to discuss as a team and then decide whether they unanimously agree the individual has abdicated her professional responsibilities, or the entire team unanimously do not agree that the individual is at fault, or there is a split verdict within the team. Out of 5 people, let's say 3 people agree, yes, the individual has harmed the interest of the organization. Another 2 say, no, the individual has not harmed the interest of the organization. And they have to write the number here and also provide justifications with their roll numbers, specific roll numbers. Again, their decision is captured here in this particular phase 3, where discussion, debate, and voting, individuals have the flexibility to change their view or retain their view based on the collective feedback they have received through the Open edX platform, as well as in the face-to-face discussion, right? So this is a critical phase. Now, inside the classroom, I analyzed the original individual data collected for the poll, where they are supposed to give yes or no, and then followed by that, they have to provide justification. So the data looks like that for 353 students. 69% of them said yes, the individual has harmed the interest of the organization, whereas 31% said no. This was the original submission made by all the students before receiving peer feedback. This is phase 1. Now, after receiving the peer feedback, that is phase 2, and then giving peer feedback and coming to the face-to-face discussion, where in the team they had discussed and then they had changed their views, and then I looked at the decision pattern now. So here, 177 students had said yes, and then 176 students had said no. So now, this is a very, very close battle between the entire batch members. In terms of percentage, the decision pattern looks like that. 50.1% said yes, the individual has harmed, and 49.9% said no, the individual has not harmed. So now, if you look at from the original decision, individual decision, before receiving peer feedback and before entering into the face-to-face discussion, 69-31, which has come to 50.1 and then 49.9. So how do we explain this particular factor? So I wanted to see whether this anonymous feedback has helped the students to learn from their colleagues and express their views freely, and also whether we can analyze whether there is a free rider problem which happens in team assignments in this particular experiment. So what I did a controlled experiment, right? So I was trying to understand this particular experiment in different phases. For example, in phase 1 poll results, that is before anonymous feedback, this is how it looks like, 69:31. And then phase 3, it looks like 50.1 and then 49.9. So I wanted to see, suppose if there is no anonymous feedback and then they submit their individual responses through OpenEdX or through any other platform, you can collect it through Google Form also. But subsequently, they meet face-to-face and then discuss with each other to decide whether the individual is guilty or not. So this is to understand the decision-making pattern. So what I did have a control group where without anonymous feedback, they did express their views individually. Then they met face-to-face and then they were debating. So without anonymous feedback, this was the original pattern here. 58.9% originally said, yes, the individual has harmed the interest of the organization, whereas 41.1% said, no, the individual is not guilty. But without anonymous feedback, but subsequently they had a face-to-face discussion. So where 54.8% people said, yes, the individual is guilty, whereas 45.2% said the individual is not guilty. So now I wanted to see, is there a significant difference between the control group and the treatment group? So I wanted to plot the results together, where the control group had 124 students without anonymous feedback through OpenEdX. The increase in no, that is the people who had changed their views after face-to-face discussion is only 4.1%. Now, there is another team which has gone through anonymous feedback where the increase in no is actually 18.1%. So if you want to look at the relative difference, here we are looking at the relative difference of 341.46% relative difference between two different groups, the control group and the treatment group. A group which did not receive anonymous feedback versus the group which received anonymous feedback, right? So now what does this particular result indicate? This result indicates that anonymous feedback was found to be effective in changing attitudes of students, especially in a highly subjective area like ethics. In the course in which I was experimenting on peer learning concepts. So the treatment group had a significantly higher percentage, 18.1% of attitude change compared to the control group with 4.1%. And it also means that anonymity allows for freer expression of opinions and diverse viewpoints compared to just face-to-face discussion, where students may be shy of expressing, they may be reluctant to express their views to their own classmates because of different reasons. So the substantial percentage difference, that 341.46 relative difference, highlights the strong impact of anonymous feedback received through this open response assessment component in the OpenEdX platform. So using anonymous feedback through OpenEdX can enhance critical thinking and perspective taking by the students learning from each other. So these findings have implication for designing effective peer learning experiments and promoting diverse perspectives. These are the major findings of this peer learning experiment. This can be used in multiple contexts to promote, because peer learning is one of the least experimented area in the higher education system, and the evaluation is mostly done by faculty, and it's extremely challenging when you have large number of students involved in a course. How do you leverage their collective wisdom rather than the faculty teaching the concepts within the classroom? So these are the major findings. And the areas of improvement required in OpenEdX responses assessment in the OpenEdX, this were a component. At this point in time, it is not so user-friendly because the final output can be only downloaded in the JSON format. Actually, it should be in a CSV format with the student roll number, name, and qualitative output. easy for the faculty for keeping records for accreditation as well as for evaluation. And also another major stumbling block is the identity of students in anonymous feedback is anonymous for the instructor too. Actually, instructors should be able to know the identity of the student giving feedback and receiving feedback to evaluate the quality of the feedback given by the student. So that's another thing. There are a couple of other things, but they are not very significant as compared to the user friendliness and the identity of the students giving anonymous feedback. So these are some areas where if open response assessment component can be designed in collaboration with the various faculty members, it will really improve the learning outcomes for students in higher educational institutions, right? So thank you very much. I'd be very happy to take up any questions or feedback from you. Thank you very much. Let me stop the screen sharing.
Yes. Thank you very much for your presentation. Let me check one of the questions here from the audience. So what other oh, sorry, this one was for the previous presenter. Let me check if we have one for you, Ganesh.
Yeah, there's one in the chat. It says, what other open edX features have been useful to you at SIM University? Or are there new features that you want?
Okay. In the open edX, there are many features. For example, sharing of videos with students, pre-recorded lectures, and then various types of quiz components which are very useful. Discussion forums have been extremely useful, but I would say out of all, this open response assessment is the best learning tool that I have ever seen. We can always stimulate the same thing using Google Form, but it requires some level of expertise to anonymize the feedback, right? And it will be time consuming. Whereas here, faculty can do it just like that, right? So it requires only minimum understanding of setting up open response system. Initially, it appears to be a little complex, but it is not that complex once you get little assistance. And other open edX features that I would like to have currently is checking for plagiarism, and also using AI, students may submit responses which may appear to be authentic. So if we can integrate this tool in open edX platform, it will be very, very handy. Any other question?
Okay, if there are no other questions, thank you very much, Dr. Ganesh, for your presentation. And feel free, if anyone has any other question, feel free to connect with Dr. Ganesh after the next presentation in the unstructured area, Carpet D. He's going to be there open for questions or for connecting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Esteban. Thank you, Open edX community, for the opportunity.
That's great. So now let's move forward with the last presentation, the product update from Ed Sadekar and Gil Guglowski. Please go ahead, Ed.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, and everyone can see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so got a lot of content that I'm going to go through quickly, but we'll have some time on the carpet to discuss in more detail. And I'm Ed Sadekar. I'm the VP of Engineering at Axum Collaborative, focused on the Open edX platform, but I also sometimes wear the hat of a product manager. And today that's the hat I'm wearing, and I'm going to talk to you about some features we've been working on to provide the feature for verifiable credentials for learners as in the Open edX platform. First, I wanted to start, actually, let me slideshow mode. Start by talking about just quick introduction of the team. The development team that we're working with on this feature is Voldemir Bergman and Gleb Kodovsky, who will join us in a little while to do a demo of the feature. Both Volodymyr and Gleb are Ukrainian and both members of the team at Raccoon Gang and working with us on building out the verifiable credentials feature. Gleb has recently been made a core contributor for the Open edX project, contributing code in the credentials domain. So we're really glad to have Gleb joining the project as a core contributor. Additionally, I wanted to call out two folks from the Digital Credentials Consortium, which is kind of housed at MIT, specifically Dmitry Zagadulin and Carrie Lemoy. Big thanks to Dmitry, who was working very late into the evening last night to try to help us fix a bug around verification of credentials in the Digital Credentials Consortium mobile app. So thank you very much to this team at MIT for helping build some of the core infrastructure for verifiable credentials ecosystem, and then helping us plug the Open edX platform into that ecosystem. Again, they're both members of the DCC, the Digital Credentials Consortium, and at MIT. Quickly, I wanted to give you guys an example of what verifiable credentials look like today. This is a sample of a document that is apostilled via the Treaty of the Apostille of The Hague, which was established in 1961. This credential is verifiable because it has a gold sticker on it and some ribbons that have been sewn through it. I think we all agree that with technology, we can produce a verifiable form of credential that's a lot more advanced and actually genuinely tamper-proof and that we can have confidence in for some of the use cases we use these credentials for. I want to talk a little bit about what the big ideas of the feature of verifiable credentials are. Firstly, they give learners control over the proof of their attainments. When learners earn, whether they're badges or certificates for completion of a course or even degrees on your platform, if you give the learner the control over the proof of the attainment, they can then use that for admission to graduate school or to get a job or to get a visa, lots of different purposes. But the key element is that we're giving learners control over their personal attainments. It's going to allow users and learners to build a lifetime record of their attainments that they can bring with them. And as we expect that lifelong learning and reskilling and upskilling become the norm of employment in the future, the ability to kind of have and maintain a lifelong record of your learning attainment is going to be a vital feature for learners and users of platforms. And finally, there's this notion that credentials should remain valid even if the issuer no longer exists. If the university that you attended, for whatever reasons, is unable to verify your credential, credentials should remain valid, and the learner should be able to present them and prove that at that time that they earned a valuable attainment. This is I always laugh when I see this, but I wanted to share it. One of the original proposals for how verifiable credentials would live on beyond the lifetime of the issuing organization was to use blockchain. We don't need to use blockchain for it, and blockchain has a lot of issues in terms of externalities, in terms of environmental impact that aren't attractive. So the current version of verifiable credentials that we are aiming to support does not require blockchain, and I'm very happy with that outcome. We'll talk a little bit about the different actors that are part of the verifiable credentials flow. In this case, at the top of the diagram, we see the holder. This is the person who has earned and holds the credential, typically the learner. You can allow someone else to hold the credential on your behalf. So in a more complicated version of this, there might be a wallet on the web where someone is holding the credential on your behalf. But the most simple version, the learner is both the earner and the holder of the credential. The issuer is the organization, say the university or Starbucks Global Academy or Zim that would issue a credential to the learner. That organization verifies kind of the quality of the content and the learning that the learner has obtained as a result of their participation in the course. And finally, there's a verifier. This is some infrastructure that's shared that allows someone you present your credential to call back and verify that that credential is still valid. This verifier should be independent of the issuer. It might be a federated network that includes the issuer, but if the issuer were to disappear, the verification process should still succeed. I wanted to talk about some specific decisions that were made in the V1 design for verifiable credentials on the Open edX platform. Firstly, support for verifiable credentials will be built off of the credentials service IDA. So that is where the code for issuing verifiable credentials lives today. The initial kind of MVP version will only support verification of programs credentials. We have some additional work to do to migrate course level credentials and eventually badge level credentials into the certificates IDA. So for now, for the MVP, we're only supporting program certificates. And our initial target is the Learner Credentials Wallet, which is a mobile app for Android and iOS that was created and is maintained by the Digital Credentials Consortium team. And the support that we are using is using an open source library from the Rust language called didkit, which was built and is maintained by an organization called Spruce ID. And we've both used that open source library and made some small contributions to it over the course of the project. So currently, the MVP supports two different data models for verifiable credentials. One is the verifiable credentials data model created by the DCC. The second one is the Open Badges Specification 3.0. And these two standards are interrelated. The verifiable credentials data model inspired some of the details of Open Badges Specification 3. We are hopeful that they will remain compatible or potentially merge in the future, but for now we support these two, and additional specifications will and can be added relatively easily. The architecture is very clean and allows for the addition of new data models. I'm going to skip over the details of the credential status information, but this gets to why we don't need blockchain for now, and I can definitely answer questions about that on the carpet, but we'll skip over it for today. And I'd like to hand over the mic to Glebe so that he can do a demo of the current MVP.
Thank you so much, Ed. Okay, I will share my screen then and present the recursion. Okay, can you please tell if it's okay to see my
Yes.
mobile phone? Great. So this is a development server where we have set up the MVP currently, and I'm plugged in as a normal user who has passed already several courses in a program. To get a verifiable credential for this certificate, I need to go to my profile. In the profile, I will see View My Records button. It's the same part as currently available in Open edX to access credential servers and see learner records. To actually make an interface for verifiable credentials, we have added several tabs. You can see right now, My Learner Records is the first tab, and verifiable credentials, as it's an optional feature, it's added as an additional tab. When clicking on verifiable credentials, I would see all the programs that set up to actually, for all the certificates that I have received, and also for all the programs that set up to generate as verifiable credentials. Right now, I present to you only one certificate at a time, but there will be the list of all user certificates that he has earned to this day. To get a verifiable credential, user need to click on this drop-down button, Create With, and then select an option. Currently, we support several providers. Open edX Wallet is one for debugging mostly and won't be available on production. But Learner Credential Wallet is a DCC, maintained by DCC and MIT, the mobile application to actually store these verifiable credentials. After clicking on Learner Credentials Wallet, I can see a pop-up screen. On this pop-up screen, I can see some information where I can download this wallet, as well as some instructions about how to save this verifiable credential to my wallet on my phone. There are some instructions about QR code, but this instruction are valid only for desktop device. And as I'm presenting to you, opening the interface from mobile browser, I can see download credential button. After clicking on download credential button, the deep link will be opened, and I will be redirected to the application of DCC, Learner Credentials Wallet. Then I need to select a profile. Usually users would have one profile, but some may have several wallets in one application. And now I can assess this credential before accepting or declining it. When I'm looking at this credential, I can see that it has check mark that is was verified. Then the title, the issuer. Right now we have registered as a development issuer in Sandbox registry only. We have an issuance date, some description. Right now, as in VP, we just put in here some information to see that any information can be displayed inside the credential. And then another parameter from OpenBadges v3 model is criteria, when this credential can be achieved and get by recipient. I can see all the information in the wallet about how this credential was verified and why it was verified. And also if something is wrong, for example, credential was expired or was revoked by issuer, on the screen, it would be marked as invalid. And then I can accept this credential. It will show me that this credential was added to wallet. After clicking on Done button and scrolling down to all testing credentials I have, I can see this particular credential at the bottom. So that's all for now. Basically, it is possible right now to generate this credential from OpenEdX system, save it to wallet, and then use it to share with other verifiers, probably the people or maybe organizations who have implemented the program to verify verifiable credentials. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thanks, Glid. And I just wanted to briefly talk a little bit about what we're going to be targeting for the next set of features for the verifiable credentials. Like I said, currently we're limited to program certificates. So I think course certificates will be the next target for being able to share as verifiable credentials. There are a couple EU wallet standards that we want to support. So we're currently in the midst of doing some technical discovery about what the best choices there will be. And then again, adding support for finer grained attainments like skills and competencies. And one thing that's under consideration is whether we would add a credential wallet capability to the OpenEdX mobile application. So those are, we can take questions now, or we can just go straight to the rugs. It's up to you, Esteban, let me know.
Yeah, so thank you, Ed, for your presentation and for the demo. Let's move with the questions in the carpet area because we are running a little bit out of time on this phase. So feel free to contact Ed in carpet C. He will be there answering questions about this presentation. And with this, we're going to conclude the presentation stage. Now you can move forward to the unstructured area. Thank you everyone for coming here, and hope to see you in the next meetup in June. Bye everyone.